Hello, Journal Chat Live members. This is Dawn Herring, your host and founder of Refresh with Dawn Herring, where finding joy takes center stage. And since Facebook has given us the option of going on live video, I have done a couple of live videos on my personal profile, which you can find on my website, dawnherring.net, which I shared on Refresh Daily, which is my blog, which you can find under Story Joy on my website. But this is the first time that I'm doing a live video on this private Facebook group, Journal Chat Live for all things journaling, which is the perfect place to get encouragement, ask questions, and share your journaling journey with us. It's here for support, for encouragement, for fun, for feedback, and everything else you can think of when it comes to written journaling as well as visual journaling, whichever one is up your alley. I know there are some people who prefer a written journal. I am a huge fan of writing in my journal. Written journaling to me is one of the most powerful tools that you can use for relevancy in learning about yourself and gaining clarity on things that you need to make decisions about, or figuring out stuff that's confusing you or giving you challenge in life. So today I wanted to invite you to join me, and if you would like to share how your journaling is the most relevant to you right now. Now, when I say relevance, I'm talking about an issue that you're addressing in your life right now. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what part of your life it's in, but if it's something that you need clarity on, whether it's decision making or your food, the kind of food you eat, or making time for creativity, which is one of my favorite topics to cover in my journal. It kind of gives me a place to explore and talk about what I'm actually doing in my creative life. And so I just wanted to invite you to share, if you would like to, how your journaling is relevant to you right now. Before I share with you what is relevant for me, I wanted to share some news with you. The first thing I want to do, well, I did mention before that I have done live videos on my private, my personal profile on Facebook. And those videos are posted on my website under Refresh Daily, which is where my blog is located, under Story Joy. If you go to my website, I now have since January, I have changed the navigation and really the whole layout of my website, and to reflect joy, since joy takes center stage here at Refresh with Dawn Herring. And so I changed all of the navigation on there, and the first is Your Path to Joy, and under that we have Your Refreshment Connection, which gives you links to all of my social media. And then there is Playing Joy, which is my absolute favorite one, really, because that's where I get to play with my creativity, and that's where I show you my Dawn Herring Collection Art Gallery, where I share my paintings that I do. And that's also where you can find my 21-day Refresh Intensive course that is available through PDF download. And I wanted to share that with you because this particular course has 21 days of journaling, art journaling, prompts, as well as fun factor activities that help you activate your intuition, honor your preferences, and listen to your life messages. And one of the best places that you can listen to your life messages is in your journal. So if you're interested in checking out that course, you're welcome to. Again, it's under Playing Joy on my website. So that's one thing I wanted to share. And then if you're looking for journaling prompts, as well as really great journaling articles and blog posts that I have shared on my website, you can go under the Reflective Joy navigation button. And under that, you will find all of the journal chat related stuff that's under there. There's journaling prompt links that you can go to. And there's also a page where I have my journal chat favorite links, which includes all of the journal chat written content or things that I have chosen in the past for Journal Chat Live. And all of those resources are on that page. Lots and lots of great journaling content that is shared on that page. So you're welcome to check out dawnherring.net and go to Reflective Joy to find those resources if you would like to use some prompts in your journaling practice, if you could use a little boost in what you're doing with your journaling life right now. So I did want to share that with you. And let's see if there's anything else I had on here. So I guess it is time for me to share with you the things that, two particular things that I wanted to share with you that give my journaling practice really great relevance. And one of them is with my paintings. And I know I've shared that with you a little bit on the Facebook group in my statuses, and I know I've shared some paintings there as well. And first I wanted to show you my latest painting. I know I think I posted it on the group already, but I thought I would show it to you here on live video as well. And this is my latest painting, which I'm assuming you can see pretty well. There might be a little bit of a glare from the plastic. I have it contained in my, I have a book that I keep my paintings in, the smaller ones that is. And this one is called Hidden, and you can view it fully if you want to get an even closer look of it. It is on my website right now, on the Dawn Herring Collection Art Gallery. And the reason why I wanted to show that to you is because my journaling practice comes in handy for keeping track of what I'm doing with each painting. I'm an intuitive watercolor painter, which means that I do not have a preset composition, if you will, or subject matter for that matter, that I use in my paintings. Instead, I am very intuitive with my process. I start off with whatever colors that I happen to be drawn to at the time, whether they're warm colors, cool colors, or colors that are opposite on the color wheel, which means that they complement each other, so they're complementary colors. Sometimes I do it that way. And so I'm very intuitive about the entire process. And so as I work through each painting, I have to make decisions about where my paintbrush is going to go, how I'm going to apply the paint. And my journaling practice is the perfect place to record what I do each day with my painting. And I have a really good time doing that because it helps me to see what's working, what I'm really liking, any new techniques I'm trying, any new textures I'm working with, any new patterns that I want to include. I really enjoy creating. I use a lot of stippling too, often in my paintings, which is basically dots. And so my journaling practice gives me that space to talk about what I'm doing with my painting each day. And it's a great way to kind of tap into whether or not I'm happy with what's going on with it, whether or not my techniques are working for me, and what I might do the next time I have a painting session. So although I don't plan out the composition, as I work through the painting, I often get ideas that come to mind. And so I write them down in my journal in the evenings after I've had my evening painting session. And so that for me, because art is so important to me, my watercolor painting I do on a daily basis because I love it so much. And it's a great way for me to give myself space to listen to what my heart is telling me. Because oftentimes when I create a painting, it tells me something about myself. It teaches me something about who I am. And it often reveals things to me about anything that I might be experiencing at the moment in my life. And so because I make that such a priority, my journaling practice really helps me to go into detail on the process that I'm experiencing, what I'm learning, and it also gives me a place to put what the working title ends up being. Because I don't ever usually have a title in mind when I get started. It's a matter of where it goes from session to session. And sometimes I get a title right away, sometimes it doesn't come to me until halfway through, and then sometimes it comes even later than that. So it depends on what I'm learning about the process in the painting. And so my journaling is a great place to really detail that process and to really enjoy the discovery that intuitive watercolor painting enables me to have. So they kind of go hand in hand. That's really what it comes down to, and I really enjoy that whole process. So that was the first thing that I wanted to share with you concerning how my journaling practice is relevant to me. Because I think that what a lot of people run into when it comes to a journaling practice, if they have a hard time keeping regular with it, is that they don't really know how to use it in a way that it's the most relevant to them. And so what I would recommend to those who struggle with keeping a journal is to find an issue or topic that either brings you joy or that is giving you a little bit of a challenge, where you're not sure what to do about this or that. And it's a good place to start so that you have something that you want to work on or that you want to play with in your journal. And really try it out and see if it's something that you want to do. See if it's something that will help you get clarity on issues that you may be working with right now in your life, no matter what part of your life you're dealing with. So that's why the ongoing Journal Chat Live open house that I'm always holding, and you can check that out on my website. There is a page specifically for the Journal Chat Live open house that is ongoing. If you ever want to share what your journaling practice and how it is the most relevant to you right now, you're welcome to write a blog post about it and then send it to me by email. And the guidelines and I have a list of things that you can do in order for me to share that on our group and on social media and on my website as well. And so you're welcome to go to dawnherring.net, go under Reflective Joy, and you will see a navigation button for, a page to click on that says Journal Chat Live Open House. So you're welcome to check that out if you would like to share publicly your how your journaling practice is the most relevant. I had one viewer. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to let you know about that. I forgot to share that with you, that the Journal Chat Live open house is always open and available. Swipe left to see your viewers. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted you to know about that so that if you want to share it publicly, I will share it publicly. You just have to follow the guidelines. So I'm really excited about that ongoing opportunity in the Journal Chat Live framework on social media, and on my website. So I've already shared with you how my journaling practice is relevant to me with my painting practice, which I derive great joy from. And I also wanted to share with you another element of why my journaling practice has been so relevant for me as of late. And one of the things that I notice with my journaling practice is when I find myself being challenged either with decision making or with when I'm noticing that I'm making something too complicated. We all have a tendency to make life too complicated, don't we? And I happen to be too good at it, unfortunately. And I think I get stuck in the logistics of things sometimes, where I'm always asking questions. I'm always wanting to know exactly what to expect or, how something is going to work out, in detail, in logistic detail. And unfortunately, you go from day to day and you're not always going to know what you want to know. That's just it. And so my journaling practice gives me a place to ask questions and to figure out why I'm feeling challenged by a certain decision or a certain direction that I'm going in life. And when I write in my journal, it gives me space to figure out where I'm going to go next and why something is, I guess, maybe disorienting me a little bit, depending on what circumstance I'm dealing with at the time. So that's the one thing that I really appreciate about having a journaling practice, because it enables me to see patterns in my journal. Patterns of thinking, patterns of action, patterns of what's working and what's not working. Yes, exactly. I think that, there's the difference between seeing the big picture and then seeing what's right in front of you right now, which is the smaller picture that we all deal with on a daily basis. And I think it's the big picture that often throws me a little bit, So my journaling practice really helps me to kind of come back to center with any challenges that I may be facing or any decisions that are, making me feel a little off, if I'm not feeling especially confident about a decision that I need to make. So that's why I think my journaling practice is such a powerful tool and an empowering tool, because once I'm able to recognize those patterns, especially ones that I know are tripping me up or making me feel off-centered, misaligned is one way that I can put it. My journaling really helps me to break those patterns, because I begin to see how it happens over and over again. And then I'm like, well, you know what? This isn't working for me right now. And I need to figure out why I'm thinking this way or why this is so important to me right now. And then I can start asking questions and getting answers. And so with the clarity that it brings me, it helps me to break that pattern. And oftentimes we don't notice the patterns, because if we're just thinking them in our head, then it's just thoughts going through. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many thoughts that run through our heads every single day that it's hard to recognize the patterns unless we write them down. And so because I write them down every day, and I write them down every day. I write a journal entry in the morning, which helps set the tone for the day. I can figure out what needs to be done and what my hopes are for the day and what my plans are as far as work goes, or, what I plan to do, if there's any specific thing that I'm doing that I don't normally do, or, whatever I have planned. That's what I do in the morning. And then in the evening, I wrap it up by writing down the things that really gave me joy, that I'm really happy that things worked out the way they did. And then I will also write down things that kind of thwarted me or that I felt a little off-centered with. So So when I do that journal entry, it really kind of helps me to summarize and to recognize the patterns. I know I recognize the patterns in the morning and as well as in the evening, and I can kind of keep track of how well I'm doing with breaking the patterns that I don't like very much. And so in one sense, my journal entries give me accountability. Yes, it's kind of like a way of being accountable to yourself in a sense. And not in a beat yourself up kind of way. No, because if you're not breaking the pattern like you want to, then, you know, you don't want to feel like, oh, I can't believe I did that again, or what is with me, you know, kind of thing. You don't want to have that kind of attitude. I do have one viewer, so I want to welcome you. You're welcome to share who you are on the group. Would love to know how you're doing, and you're welcome to share how your journaling is the most relevant to you right now and what's keeping you going in your journaling practice. Or if you're having trouble with your journaling practice, you're welcome to share that as well, and I can give you some tips or whatever that might help you. So you're welcome to leave a comment below and say hello, as well as where you're from, because I know there are people all over. This is basically a nationwide and international group, so you're welcome to share with me where you're at and what kind of journal you keep. You're welcome to share if you keep a written journal or an art journal or both, or if you keep a doodle journal. Speaking of that, I do a doodle in my journal every single evening. It's a great way to summarize what my day means to me. You know, when I look back on the things that I experienced in my day, whether it's with family members or, you know, or just with me in my creative practice, or with something that I did outside the home, or something I'm dealing with in the office, any of those things can be touched on. And so, yeah, I draw a doodle. A doodle, basically, it's usually either a word. I have 2 viewers now. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. You're welcome to drop a comment and let me know who you are and where you're from in our Journal Chat Live private group here. This is the first time that I've done a live video on Facebook in this particular group, and I would love to hear from you guys. I really would. Yeah, so you're welcome to share where you're from and how your journaling practice is the most relevant to you, if you would like to do so. So I was just sharing about the 2 ways that I wanted to share today about how my journaling practice is the most relevant. And the first one had to do with my painting process. And then the second one has to do with recognizing patterns that are not working for me in the way I'm thinking and maybe the way I'm speaking or the way I'm acting in some element of my life that I want to create positive change with. And a journal writing practice, as well as a visual journal, is a really great way to recognize those patterns and to break them if you feel like they're not working for you. It's a very empowering tool and process to be able to recognize what's working and what isn't. And no, it's not easy because we are creatures of habit, unfortunately. But I mean, in some ways it's good, and then in other ways it's not so good, depending on how you view it. But my journaling practice to me is an absolute delight because it gives me a space to spew my angst. And oftentimes when I'm dealing with a pattern that's not working for me, I can feel a little angsty about it. So I'm going to want to share that and write it down and say, what is going on here? What do I need to do here? What's the deal? And one of the ways that I do that is through dialogue. Yes, I've shared dialogue. I've shared about dialogue on Refresh Daily before. I think I might have written an open house post about that very issue, about dialogue. Matter of fact, I know I did. I may put a link below this video when I'm done, and so that you can check out that open house article that I wrote on my blog. talking about the greatest, of course, it's the greatest relevance, but because we're always talking about how our journal practice is relevant to us. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. I'll probably put a link below the video for that, which was a previous post. But anyway, so yeah, my journaling practice is a very empowering tool. And so I do the AM journal entry. I use dialogue. That's what I was discussing earlier, is the dialogue. And basically, it's not necessarily talking to yourself when you ask a question. I think it's really more of an intuitive process where you have a question about something and you don't know what to do about it. And so you ask the question and then you listen for the answer. Because, we all have inherent inner wisdom and intuition within ourselves that we have been gifted with as humans. And we don't use it near often enough, which is one of the reasons why I created the 21-day Refresh Intensive course, because it helps you to activate your intuition. I actually give you activities that you can do that will enable you and to really pay closer attention to your intuition and where it's drawing you and why. And so I really find the dialogue is a very intuitive process where you write the question and then whatever comes to mind, you just write it down as an answer. And I find that the more I do it, the more insightful those answers become. And it actually is very revealing how you can benefit from dialogue. You should try it. And what I do, you can do it with the same hand if you want to and just see what comes up. But what I do is I write the question with my dominant hand, and then I write the answer in my non-dominant hand. Now, I realize that most people don't write with both hands. Very few people do that. But I started doing that, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I do it every day. I started doing it like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even longer. Yeah. Oftentimes I do something for longer than I think I did. But what I do is I started writing with my left hand because that kind of activates the opposite side of the brain when you're writing. So you can either have your logical side of the brain or your creative side of the brain. And when you're working with both hands alternately, it activates both sides. So I started doing that 5 or 6 years ago, and wow, I have really been amazed as to what I have learned from that process of using both hands, alternating them. Now, in my journal entries in the morning, I don't always get to the left hand, which is my non-dominant hand, but I try to. I try to do it with every entry that I do so that I get a balanced view and a balanced understanding of what I'm discussing or writing about in my journal. And so with the dialogue, because I've been doing it so long, I'm actually able to read my writing for the most part with my non-dominant hand, which took a little doing. It's actually easier to do cursive than print. I think when I first started, I did it in print, maybe a little bit until I got used to using that non-dominant hand regularly. But now I'm so used to it, I just do it automatically. And so with the dialogue, when I ask the question, I use my right hand, and when I answer the question, I use my left hand. And it has been a really insightful way to figure out these patterns of thinking, speaking, and doing that are not working for me, or that are just not keeping me aligned and not keeping me centered where I want to be. And often you feel off, odd, or, not quite right. And my purpose, one of my purposes in doing that, is to bring me back to joy. Because joy, to me, is the precursor to all refreshment. And it also shows me that I'm right where I want to be. Because when I know I'm aligned with who I am, and my journal practice helps me get there, because when I'm misaligned, that's when things don't feel right. And so for me, the dialogue can really open things up for me. It can really show me some things about what I'm struggling with that I may not have realized before. And oftentimes those answers I had no clue about. And then, the one thing that I do notice about the dialogue is that when I do it on a regular basis, I notice patterns with the dialogue as well. I'm noticing that a lot of the answers get repeated because I need to go back to those things that are mentioned, in the answer that I get. And it can cover any dimension in life, whether it's your physical body, whether it's your mental, whether it's your emotional side, whether it's your relational side with other people, whether it's your creative practice, which is really huge for me, and talking about why I'm feeling good about this and not so good about that, and that sort of thing. So the dialogue is a great technique that I have used pretty regularly to answer questions that I have about things that are, that I need answers to. So I thought I would offer that to you as well. It's something you may want to try in your journaling practice, is the dialogue. And you can start with just, the dominant hand at first and see what comes up for you. And then if you want to try the non-dominant hand, I actually recommend that you try working with the non-dominant hand, and actually incorporate that into your daily journal writing, because it activates that other side of the brain. So you might want to try that. It's really been beneficial to me, and I'm really glad that I've been doing it for quite a while now, and it really works. It really works for me. So that was pretty much what I wanted to share about how my journaling is the most relevant to me right now. And I hope that what I've shared is encouraging to you. And you're welcome to visit my website, dawnherring.net, where you can go under Reflective Joy, which is where all the journaling related links and pages are, in case you want a journal prompt or you want to go check out the Journal Chat Favorites page that I have linked a ton of resources from people who have found online through journaling, or who have written blog posts specifically for the Journal Chat Live open house that is ongoing, of course, and you are welcome to check that out as well. You can go to under Reflective Joy and find Journal Chat Live open house, and you can check out the guidelines there if you want to share how your journaling is the most relevant to you right now. And I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your journaling story, because you know what? Your journaling voice matters. That's what we say here at Journal Chat Live, is that your journaling voice matters. And when you share what you're doing in your journaling practice, and we share it with the world, it's a great way for other people who keep a journal or who may be struggling to keep a journal, and they can be encouraged by your story. Yes. And so that's why I'm sharing my journaling story here with you live on our Journal Chat Live Facebook group, and I also share on my blog as well. And most, if not all, of the blog posts at Refresh Daily, which is at my website, dawnherring.net, you go under Story Joy, and you can find Refresh Daily under there. And you're welcome to check out my blog posts there. I have written quite a few. My most recent have been, I wrote a blog post called Creative Revolution. It's a review of the Creative Revolution book by Flora Boley, which is really, really cool. And I include journaling and art journaling prompts in that blog post. And I also have some video clips that I've posted on the blog that I have put up there from Instagram. And there are also previous Facebook Lives on my personal profile that I have recorded and posted there as well. So there's a ton of stuff there for you to check out if you're interested in how my creative practice goes and in what I've shared with my audience on social media. And of course, if you're not, well, actually, you would have to be a member if you're on with me live, but I will probably share this video on my blog. And so if you're not already a member of our Journal Chat Live Facebook group, you're welcome to request membership. It is for written and as well as art journaling. Visual journaling is welcome as well. So if you are looking for a place to find encouragement, to ask questions, and to share your journaling journey with us, you're more than welcome to join us on the group. You'll just need to request a membership there because it is a private group. I actually made it private. Trying to remember if I did that this year or last year. I don't remember. It was either late last year or early this year that I changed it to a private group so that people can share stuff, and feel comfortable doing so, because it's, journaling can often be a very, let's see, you might feel a little vulnerable sharing it with everyone in the world. But at the same time, we can choose to share what we feel comfortable with in our journaling practice. And that's where the Journal Chat Live open house is very beneficial to you and your blog. So you're welcome to check that out and to check out the resources on my website and to join our group if you're interested, if you are not already a member. So that was pretty much what I was going to share for today with how my journaling practice is relevant to me right now. And I thank you so much for joining me. I thank you so much for watching, for replay viewers who did not join me initially for this live broadcast. And I am so glad that I can share with you my journaling practice and be an encouragement and a source of refreshment and joy to you in your journaling practice as well as in your creative practice, which journaling is actually a big part of my creative practice, which is really great. So thank you so much, and may joy find you in the most unexpected places. Bye-bye.